Welcome back to the deep dive. We are going straight into a stack of source material today that maps out a professional life defined by just spectacular, almost unbelievable contradictions.
Yeah, that juxtaposition is really the key to this whole thing.
It really is. We're exploring the career of a performer who somehow managed to exist in these worlds that just should not intersect.
Right.
You know, the glossy pages of adult magazines, the most explicit edges of hardcore film, mainstream television news.
And the most baffling one of all, 90s video game nostalgia.
It's just incredible.
Our mission here, really, is to understand the trajectory and the legacy of Shyla Foxxx, who was born in Anutza Herling.
Right.
She didn't just participate in her field, she fundamentally changed the expectations of it. So we need to analyze how she carved out this niche by combining things that were normally separate.
Things like stunning charisma and extreme content.
Exactly. All while, and this is the kicker, holding a completely opposite future ambition.
Okay, let's unpack that, because you have to start with the rigid structure she was trying to escape. The contrast is just jarring.
It really is.
She was born Anutza Herling, December 21st, 1972, right in Chicago, Illinois.
Right. And while she was American, her background was Puerto Rican descent. She often identified as Latina or mixed race.
But the key detail from the sources seems to be her upbringing.
Oh, absolutely. The defining feature was the home environment. She was the eldest child in a notably strict Catholic family in Chicago. That's the framework her story starts in.
And that framework, it seems like it broke down very early and very dramatically. It really signals this strong drive for independence.
Exactly. This early transition point is just crucial. At only 13 years old, she gets caught doing phone sex.
13. Wow.
Yeah. And this was a big enough deal that her family made the pretty drastic decision to send her away to live with her grandparents.
So that event really just severed the tie to that strict upbringing.
It seems like it. It catalyzed her move toward, professional independence and the whole adult sphere.
And that desire for independence, it turns into professional opportunity almost immediately when she's on her own.
As soon as she could. She comes back to Chicago right around her 18th birthday, and she gets to work right away.
And that's where her professional life really begins.
In earnest, yeah. She starts working as a stripper, and she wasn't just working, she was excelling. She became a headliner fast, touring across the U.S. into Canada.
So she already had this ability to connect with an audience.
Yes, and to build a brand. And we see that brand building happening across multiple platforms even before film.
Right, the modeling. She was doing photo layouts for major magazines like Club and Hustler.
She even landed the July 1996 CoverGirl spot for Club International.
And here's the interesting point. By 1994, she was already a big deal on the live circuit.
A very big deal.
Mhm.
She won 3 major titles at the Miss Nude World competition that year. Best Face, the Masters Division title, and World's Best Show.
So long before film, the industry already recognized she had this charisma and stage presence.
They knew she had something special. She was a recognized talent, a commodity.
Okay, but now we have to talk about the genuinely bizarre footnote in this timeline.
We're moving from the stage to the low-poly arcade screen.
This is where it gets really interesting, because before Shyla Foxxx was known for any of her films, she was kind of the congratulatory face of the 90s racing scene.
It sounds made up, but it's true.
In either the 1994 arcade version or the 96 Nintendo 64 release, she appeared in the massive arcade hit Cruis'n USA. She was the trophy girl.
The one who appears in that little digitized video clip at the end of the race when you come in first.
Yes. And what's truly wild is the credit detail the sources give us.
She was credited in the game using her birth name, Anutza Herling.
That is just incredible to think about. Millions of kids, families in arcades, saw her completely innocuously. Was there any, context in the sources for how that happened?
They don't specify the exact details, but it really speaks to the fluidity of modeling work back then. A model gets a gig, probably credited by her real name.
And that gig just happens to end up in one of the biggest racing games of the decade.
Exactly. It's this accidental but persistent piece of mainstream visibility that's totally separate from everything that came later.
So after this unexpected detour into gaming, she moves to Hollywood.
Right, to focus entirely on adult entertainment. And she signs with the Studio Metro pretty quickly.
And that physical profile she'd already established became central to her new career.
Absolutely. The sources list her at 5'4", 119 pounds. And of course, her enhanced breasts were a major feature, listed around a 40E or DD cup.
It was that combination of being petite with this dramatic figure that became her brand.
Totally. Her look was highly commercial, but her career was about to become anything but.
Which brings us to how she forged this cult legacy in adult film between '96 and 2001. She was 24 when she started, and she didn't just ease in.
No, she dove straight into the deep end. It was a very significant strategic choice. Her very first film in 1996, a film called Gothic,
Right.
immediately placed her in the most explicit realm possible. Anal sex, double penetration, facials. She was immediately declaring what kind of performer she was going to be.
And this leads directly to her biggest contribution to the industry at the time, right? The unique combination she brought.
This is where we need to slow down, because it's about the industry structure of the mid-90s. As one director famously said, the market was segmented.
You had the really beautiful girls who did softer stuff.
Right, high production erotica, less explicit material.
Mm.
And then you had the really dirty porno girls who did the hardcore content but maybe lacked that polished look.
So she was the bridge.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Shyla Foxxx merged those two aesthetics. She could deliver the most technically demanding explicit material while having the stunning beauty and acting ability of the high production stars.
She redefined what a star in the hardcore sector could look and act like.
That was the innovation. And what's fascinating is, she was a tenured performer from 96 to 2001, but she only made about 20 original films.
But they became cult classics.
Because they were ambitious, they pushed boundaries, technically and stylistically.
Let's talk about those boundaries. The sources highlight some specific films.
Yeah, take Blue Dahlia from 1997. It's a perfect example. It took the raw, unscripted tactics of the emerging gonzo genre.
Which, for our listeners, is that sort of raw, documentary-style, hidden camera feel.
Exactly. And it combined that with actual attempts at classical storytelling. It's a mix that shouldn't work, but it did.
And she also had comedic range, not just physical endurance.
Oh, for sure. Hanky Panky from 1999 is praised for blending camp, erotica, and hardcore comedy. One reviewer called it the funniest adult video that I've ever seen.
That's a rare combination to pull off.
Very rare. And then there are the films noted for their technical breakthroughs.
What do the sources say about that?
A key moment was in Too Much from 1996. The film is noted in the industry for featuring single orifice double penetration, which was a new and, frankly, raucous method being filmed at the time.
So her legacy is literally tied to pushing the envelope of what audiences saw on camera.
And what performers were willing to do.
Okay, so she establishes herself as this fearless, high-level performer. It's kind of inevitable that mainstream media would take notice.
And we should note her demographic significance here, too. She was one of the few Latina actresses getting that level of recognition at the time.
Right, and her TV appearances are just astounding, considering her work.
Yeah, she wasn't hiding on late-night cable. She was profiled on Entertainment Tonight in February of '99.
Entertainment Tonight is a huge platform.
A huge platform.
Oh.
And the segment was specifically about adult stars trying to cross over into mainstream work. It shows the conversation was already happening in the culture.
And it wasn't just entertainment shows. Hard news outlets, too.
Exactly. She was interviewed by a KPIX evening news program in '97 for an expose on pornography. And she was also profiled on the Spanish-language news program Noticias in '99.
She really became a representative figure for the industry.
She did. She pops up in the Toronto Star in '98 in articles about porn in America. Even The Independent in London ran a photo of her from the Consumer Electronics Show.
So she reached this critical mass of recognition, but that defining phase of her career was pretty short.
Really, just that 5-year burst from '96 to 2001. By 2014, one source notes she was fully retired.
And that retirement brings us to the most powerful and just fascinating contradiction of her whole story.
Her long-term professional ambition. This is where her internal identity just completely clashes with her public persona.
We have a quote from her during her active career. She said, "I can't believe that I can have such a great income and have so much fun."
Right. Which speaks to the immediate satisfaction, the financial leverage her career gave her.
A means to an end.
A means to a very, very different end. Because her stated long-term goal wasn't more celebrity. It was something else entirely.
So tell us what that ultimate goal was. It completely reframes her entire professional life.
The aspirational quote we have is this: "My goal is to be the best criminal attorney out there. But besides that, I'd like to be a judge someday."
A judge! That is extraordinary.
From a performer celebrated for pushing the boundaries of explicit representation to aspiring to the public trust required of a judge.
So how do you hold those two things in your head at the same time? Was the film career just a business transaction to fund law school?
That's the question, isn't it? The legal profession demands unimpeachable character. Her ambition requires a complete separation of her past public identity from her future professional one.
It fundamentally redefines her legacy. It's not just about what she did on screen.
Exactly. Her legacy isn't just about combining beauty with hardcore performance. It's about the audacity of her stated ambition. She used a controversial, high-profile career to set herself up for a future that required the total opposite qualities.
So when we look back at the whole path, strict Catholic upbringing, the trophy girl in Cruis'n USA, the boundary-pushing film career, the mainstream recognition, and then this goal of becoming a judge. It's a perfect study in contrast.
And it leaves us with the ultimate question for you to think about. How does society reconcile a person's most visible professional period, like being a world-famous adult film star, with their pursuit of a profession that hinges entirely on public trust, like the judiciary? What does that duality reveal about the permanence of identity and our willingness to allow for genuine professional metamorphosis?